the secret files of Teletraan 2.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Files of Teletraan 2, where we talk comics. Due to comic delays and personal delays and delays, this is a bit of a tightly packed one, so it's not going to be as detailed as it normally will be, but deal with it! Andy, hi.
Hi, Mikey.
Are you prepared?
Make it double to something. Jesse and James.
No, you're Meowth.
No, I'm alright with that.
Yeah, you're Meowth.
I'm alright with that.
Or you can be James. You are not Jesse. Jesse is vaguely competent.
Can I be Wobbuffet?
You can be Jigglypuff.
Oh, yeah, Jigglypuff's a fucking badass. Jigglypuff doesn't give a fuck about the world.
No, and I do see you like inflating every time you lose your temper.
That's right, because I don't outwardly explode. It's just more of an internal hatred going on.
So, guys, we are here to talk some Transformers. We'll be covering a couple of issues of the main book. We'll be covering a couple of issues of Galaxies. And then in the extended version, you'll be able to catch up to our entirely timely review of the Valentine's Day special. The first of its kind.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Is it a common thing in comic books to have a Valentine's Day issue?
When I was looking this up on Comixology, it had Bomb Queen versus Hack and Slash Valentine's Day special, and knowing what I know about both of those books, I bet that's intriguing.
Yeah, since Hack and Slash is like comedy horror.
And Bomb Queen is about a dominatrix who explodes things.
Oh, okay.
And then I know Zombie Tramp had a Valentine's Day special.
Right.
And I bet that was violent. So, anyway, we will discuss the wonders. I bet Vampirella's got at least like 6 of them.
Are they not just pornos, though?
Well, I don't know, because like very little of from what I understand, I haven't read a lot of Vampirella, but not actually much of it is porn.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, it's just like she's got the outfit.
That was always my impression, that's what it was.
Nah, she was just designed at a time where like, how much clothes can we put on her while still technically having her almost naked?
I thought you were just going to say with how few clothes can we put on her, but yeah, that works too.
No, I know what they were concerned about. They were not concerned about her little clothing. They were worried about how much.
Okay, yeah.
And then, like in the 2016, like they tried to do a young adult, teenager-friendly version of her that was like basically looked like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Vampire Hunter.
Oh, was it any good?
I don't know. I know it got cancelled, and then because I remember it got there was a lot of controversy when it kicked off because it was a major character redesign, and then I remember that after a while I just saw a solicitation and she was back in the old outfit, and I'm just like, I bet that didn't sell.
Yeah, probably not.
Then again, I'd be surprised if Vampirella sells in large amounts.
I would imagine it's probably a bit more of a niche kind of comic.
If you read Vampirella, please let us know why and if it's worth picking up.
Sure.
But yes, we're going to talk Transformers 16, 17, Galaxies 4 and 5 in the main show. So let's get on it with The Changing in Nature Part 4, written by Brian Ruckley, art by Bette Maguire Smith and Anna Malkova, colors by Josh Bertram and Joanna Lafuente, letters by Jake M. Wood, edited by David Mariotti and Tom Waltz. And the book opens up with a tense meeting where Freud wants to talk to Nautica and Road Rage is kind of angry. And Starscream is picking on Road Rage because, like, everyone wants to bang Nautica.
That's not untrue.
And it's also like, apparently there's just a long line of people who have at some point tried it on with Nautica, and she's just never bent to peer pressure, at least not openly when Road Rage was around.
Hang on, were you going to say she's never taken a knee?
Oh, God. No, people take it for her.
Is that what the wrench is for? Now you may take that, children, as either she hits them in the knee or she uses it for sexual pleasures. It's all up to your imagination, of course.
What was that extra setting that Brainstorm added?
Oh no! Oh no!
You know full well if anyone invented a Transformers vibrator, it would be Brainstorm.
Yeah, probably like
and
vibrate
he'd be
the
really
spark.
excited and bring it up in really awkward, like fancy dinner or political meetings or something like that. And he's just like, if I press this button, it vibrates so hard. Look.
Is it bad that I would imagine he would do it at a funeral?
Yes, he would just like put it in the coffin. My gift to you.
Yep.
Bzzz.
It's something he always wanted.
Oh, did he? I don't care. Anyway, in a secret meeting, Heretic tells Megatron that Sentinel is planning to basically sabotage the Decepticons. They're going to have a public debate, which Sentinel is going to use as a sting operation to get Soundwave arrested and basically say, look at the monster, you can't trust the Decepticons. Heretic is outraged, and his group, the Reversionists, are deciding to leave Cybertron, but he's also decided he's going to give Megatron the information and do with it what he will. Starscream, meanwhile, comes out of the shadows and reveals he's basically kind of been watching things. He's not really on anyone's side yet. He's still looking where his loyalties are going to fall, and he questions whether Megatron should trust Bumblebee because of the relationship with Orion. Megatron, oddly enough, refuses to believe that Orion was put a fast one by planting a spy. And Starscream kind of like maybe just have too much faith in the dude. At the spaceport, apparently shit is going down as a Voin enforcer lands. It's not good. Nautica basically says this means that very, very bad things are going to happen. And it's basically the previous Voin, but with war monkeys.
Yeah, war gorillas.
Yeah, these are not like the kind of dopey looking fellas from before. This is like, oh god, these things probably like eat you. Like as the brain watches inside.
And they've also got shoulder cannons as well, at least one shoulder cannon, laser thingy.
And Nautica is just like, nothing good is going to come of this. Meanwhile, Megatron meets with Alita to try and get an idea of what Bumblebee's loyalties are, and obviously he doesn't know what Alita's are, and she just says like, he's nothing but awesome, he's wonderful, but she's rather concerned about Soundwave's antics of late. Megatron is just like, calls Soundwave, tears into him, and says like, you're an idiot, and because of you, we're having to do things at a much faster rate than we needed to. Soundwave kind of still given the attitude of, don't really care. Meanwhile, Astra Chain takes the what increasingly becoming the bunch of Decepticons that are the most fun to follow, which is Flame War and her crew, as well as Slipstream, to basically break into a tracking station, murder everyone inside, and drop off Skystalker, who it turns out is a city speaker. And yeah, I'd like to point out, like, at the start of this book, they hadn't had a murder in millennia, and now they just won't stop. And Skystalker, under Shockwave's guidance, syncs up with a Titan, who's lying dormant, and basically awakens him, delivers new orders. And that Titan is Vigilum.
He was a nice one from the last series,
yeah,
right?
He was lovely.
Yes.
Nothing bad about him. No brain taking over at all.
No.
And yeah, that's the end of 16. Andy, thoughts?
It was okay. It didn't really grab me though in a lot of ways. I think it's because we've got back into this was just, again, it felt like build up. I didn't really feel like we were going in. More tension was being built, but not much else was going on. I did like the fact that the senator dude with the silly hat told Megatron about the whole thing, because technically that was arguably the right thing to do. Yeah. Not knowing that Megatron is doing Megatron-y things from an uninformed perspective, that's the right thing to do. So I like that. But there wasn't a huge amount that grabbed me, I'll be honest, about this issue, or spoilers for the next issue either, to be honest.
I liked the action scene well enough with the Decepticons, just because they're a group I enjoy, those particular ones, and I like the back and forth. This had a pacing problem in that it didn't, like, I really feel like there should have been set up about City Speakers and Titans before this, because... have we not had anything on City Speakers? I don't think we've had nothing on this level. Like, this is kind of relying on you knowing what a City Speaker is, I feel.
Oh, I just assumed we'd already been told. Or I guess my assumption was we already knew them from the previous series. So, that's really bad if that's the case. But
like, the Titans they had talked about, but I think either City Speakers were mentioned a long time ago, or they were never set up. And like, in which case, either they were never set up or it was mentioned so far away it doesn't matter. But then, for the new reader, they're going, what's a City Speaker?
Yeah.
Or what, Vigilum waking up is something that is very, like, they have "Can you hear me, Vigilum?" and Vigilum's in bold. So it's like, that's supposed to be attracting your attention.
Yes.
Also, it's weird to have a bit where it's, remember the great, we spoke about, and again, weird bolding.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Tom Belong be sitting there, like, judging from afar, I think. So it's not the best paced, and I think it needed more setup, more in-book setup. The art, I think, is pretty decent overall, although it's really becoming apparent when they're using a character who hasn't had a recent toy.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
Shadow
like...
Striker is, like, so under-detailed, especially compared to, like, Slipstream. Shadow Striker looks out of place in this comic.
Or like Skystalker and Hyperdrive and the
Skystalker. See, I'd say Skystalker doesn't look too bad because he looks like generic kind of Minicon, kind of like the rest of the Micromasters do from this book. So I don't think he suffers too much.
What about Helicopter Dude?
He's very much trying to be based off his Micromaster, but again, like you say, because he doesn't have his own toy, they haven't really gone all in.
But which I wouldn't mind, except it's just such a design clash. Like, either add to his design or don't, but make them look like they're coming from the same world and some. Like, I think Slipstream, because it's a G1 version of the Cyberverse design.
Yes,
she's not too bad. I think they managed to sort of balance her a bit.
Do you think it's the fact that they're like those ones that don't have the base toys, is they're slightly under detailed?
Yeah, it's like they don't have enough detail, and their detail is just, when you compare them to stuff like Megatron or Nautica, where it's just like lines and lines and lines and lines, or even like Alita. Like, it's just very noticeable. But on the other hand, I do like the Decepticon crew. Slipstream, I like Slipstream's overall look.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm also really glad Slipstream's just been normalized as a character, because I was always fond of her design. Like, I love her color scheme.
Yeah. It's a shame we don't have a good toy for her, though.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this design, the Cyberverse design.
Yeah, we would have. Maybe.
We would have, yeah.
Except someone hates me.
That's right.
Specifically me. What's your thoughts on the art?
It's by my preferred artist for this series, so yeah, it's not too bad. You can tell when they switch over artists, but for the most part, it's fine. I definitely prefer the first half of the art to the second half, just because it's a bit more detailed and more up my alley. But the other one it's not bad. It's just, again, not my preferred style.
Yeah.
And I saw the guy getting cut in half, and I was like, ooh, that's not done by Alex Milne, is it?
No, it's a weird scene where I think the layout of the scene is good, and also, it's a weird thing to say, but I like the fact the guy doing it has blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think of either, the proportions are just not there. Like, if you think how Alex has done it, if you think how Sarah would have done it, or Andrew, or like the guys, I feel that there's still very much a case where the artists are kind of chasing the previous generations.
Yeah.
And some people are good, and some people are clearly competent, but I don't feel we've had a superstar yet.
No, I would agree.
And I think the problem was we had a row of them. We just kept on getting excellent artists over and over again, and now we're kind of into the competent range, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're just like, they're okay.
Yeah. And part of it's also like some of the style they're going for is frequently just not for me.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't really have anything else to add in the issue. Like I said, I'm aware of time this time around. But Andy, any other points you want to do a rating?
I'm good with rain because you mentioned just time. I just don't have a huge amount to say about it. I don't think there's, at least from my perspective, that much to talk about, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I didn't hate this issue. So I think it's 6. Like, it's just okay. Like, it doesn't wow me. The art's fine. It's just, like you say, some pacing problems, and nothing made me go, oh, this was enjoyable. I was just I was just reading it, if you know what I mean. I wasn't invested in it.
Yeah, yeah. I think a 6 is a fair rating for this. It doesn't really push the boat out. There's been better issues.
Yes.
I think issue 15 was way better than this.
Yeah. That's always a bummer when you go from a really strong issue to a weaker issue. Not a bad issue, just a significantly weaker one.
Yeah. A 6 all around, I think, which moves us on to part 5 of The Changing Nature. And something to note from here, usually these are moving in 5-part arcs. So this issue would be taken as the end of the 3rd arc.
Yes.
Which raises some questions. But written by Brian again. Most of the creative team is identical to on this one, so we won't bother going through it all. Letters, though, are Jake M. Wood and Neil Uitaki. So we follow up on what was going on. Slipstream and her crew are escaping in Astrotrain, who is very, very big. Astrotrain kind of wants to stay and murder people, but Slipstream's not having any of it. Cyclonus is sitting in a memorial crater, talking to the voices in his head, until he's interrupted by Hotspot, who explains that the one responsible for exploding the memorial crater is believed to be Sixshot. And Cyclonus isn't taking that well and says, well, I have to basically decide if I'm going to murder Sixshot. Kind of hoping that happens, because I'd like to see that. Meanwhile, on the Winged Moon, Wheeljack is working with Lancer and apparently the interminably unlucky Gears, who cannot stay in the orbit of anything. And him and Wheeljack and Huffer are basically constantly saving him. Cosmos shows up, and they're all kind of... This feels very normal, but then it turns out that there's a Titan heading towards the Winged Moon. And so the only active Titan is Lodestar, and Lodestar is not there. And this Titan appears to be on a collision course. Down below, people realize what's going on, and they try to contact a Titan that is close by that might be able to get in Vigilum's way. And they end up contacting Lodestar and Lightbright. Lightbright has turned Lodestar into what I can only call a dance hall.
A dance revolution.
They decide to make amends and interrupt Vigilum's movement towards the Winged Moon. And all the time, Vigilum is quoting a text on the Age of Expansion. Which is interesting because most of what we've seen about the expansion of Cybertron in this era has been fairly positive. The only issue with expansion was how it affected their resources. Mm-hmm. And apparently what Vigilum is reading is a version of the expansionist theory that was far more critical of the effect that Cybertronians had on the rest of the universe. Which I find interesting since it's Vigilum, and my preconceptions about him are he'd be pretty pleased with that version of expansion.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lightbright and Lodestar try to intercept him, but they are just massively outgunned. They really do not stand a chance. The engineers are basically sitting on the planet trying to figure out what's going on. Back and forth, Lodestar is eventually very badly damaged. Maybe she's dying, maybe she's not. And Vigilum lands on the Winged Moon, transforms, and starts tearing the tether that connects the moon to Cybertron. And as Lightbright is coming back to her own and they're tight, but Lodestar might be dying, Lodestar tells her that the tether is collapsing and they're about to lose the moon. And that's the end of the issue. So once again, Andy.
Mikey.
I ask you.
Yes.
Thoughts?
If I take out the first 3 pages, those being the Cyclonus ones, how dramatically does it change the story? Sorry, the not the first 3, because the very first one's the Astrotrain stuff. If we take out the 3 pages of Cyclonus, what do we lose?
Vigilum heading towards the moon. Hitting the moon.
The 3 Cyclonus pages.
Well, if we take out those pages.
Yeah.
They're nothing. They're just set up for a Cyclonus scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They felt really out of place.
Here's the question, though.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with me they're some of the better pages in this book?
In terms of what?
Just overall writing? Because I like this take on Cyclonus, and I kind of found myself wanting to stick with him and not follow the Vigilum story.
No. Well, for me, not particularly. I found the Vigilum stuff a bit more interesting because this is just more setup, and it felt out of place. It felt superfluous to the story, so I kind of was just dancing through what was being said, because it just didn't feel like there was a lot going on. It was just a setup for Cyclonus to go, you know what, I want to go and fight Six-Shot. The idea behind the setup for Cyclonus, like you say, of him seeing these ghosts, is an interesting one. But we're on to issue, what is it, 16, did you say, 17?
17.
Yeah, and it's not really been expanded on, apart from he sees the ghost and they talk to him. It doesn't feel like it to me, so it seems like it's an issue we're just kind of dancing around again at the moment without doing anything with. But the threat of Vigilum is not bad. It's not terrible. Him quoting the scripture is, I wouldn't say off-putting, but it was a bit of a slog to read, I found. It wasn't the most exciting stuff to read. And sending a pleasure cruise basically to stop a battle station just seemed like a poor move, but I suppose you work with what you got. It was okay, but again, it just didn't wow me. There's some nice pages when you look at them when you're not looking at guided view, for instance. The page layout is quite nice, even if it doesn't impact super hard.
I think there's some interesting choices made with color in this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Lots of blues.
Yeah, and I think Lightbright's dance scene is actually very attractive.
Yeah, I agree. I like that.
Yeah. Also, I just like the idea that Lightbright's just, what does she do for fun? She dances.
Oh, I just imagine that's just what she was doing. Like, she was either goofing off from work or couldn't be bothered with work. Cause, like, what is her work?
What does she do for a job? She stands inside someone
and talks to them.
Yeah.
Very important.
Oh, yeah.
But like when the Lodestar's not needed, what do you think we should do?
I'm disappointed. I am very disappointed Lodestar didn't transform.
Yeah, I is that going to happen like next issue? Because it seems weird if we don't see it.
But I'm kind of assuming she's dead.
Yeah, like the last page almost kind of seems to suggest like Lodestar's going on a suicide run.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem like a great idea.
Yeah, I suppose the idea is to basically any run against Vigilum is a suicide run, but
I guess.
One thing they don't really set, like, there's a bit of informed here, like, Vigilum's character is not on display here.
No, it's just reading scripture, isn't it? And that's
and like, I like the idea of the scripture, and I like I said, I like the contradiction of, this is how you view it, and this is kind of how it really is. Mm-hmm. But at no point, like, what he's saying is basically all the things the Decepticons are, like, he's saying, like, expansionist theory is, he's reading out scripture that's saying that the expansion was actually a horrific thing where we went out murdering our way across the universe by basically sending living apocalypses to different worlds. But the whole point of the Decepticons is that they kind of love that. Well, do you think, like, the next issue it's going to go, and I love it? I don't think he's going to get a personality, and I think it's because, like, I liked Vigilum's personality. Like, Vigilum had, like, the most personality of any Titan ever, I think. It's not a big bar, but I'll agree with you. Him and Daddy Triptychon. Yeah. Poor old Metroplex sitting there, nothing. But I don't know. Also, I kind of wish they'd redesigned Vigilum, because he's lifted straight from Talalar 1. Is he? Is that the exact design? Exact design. Okay. Because I don't mind the head design. The shoulders are a bit on the weird side. I think some of that's art proportions. Okay. Yeah. But, like, I just, one thing this book is not doing is giving itself a visual identity. Which is odd, because it's saying it's meant to be its own separate universe. So yeah, like, if they'd made heavier changes visually, that would have been a stronger idea to give you an idea that, this is its own thing. You know what? I bet Lodestar transforms. If you go to the character page at the start of the book. Okay. Lodestar's picture is her in robot mode. Oh, is it? Hang on. Yeah. Let's get to the character page. Also, I don't know why Gears is listed in the character page. Oh, yeah, there's Lodestar, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. So spoiler. Huh. That's odd choice. That's a bad choice, lads. Yeah. Kind of spoiling the character survives. Oh, yeah, it has to. She has to survive to transform. Because that's internal art. That is absolutely internal art. Totally, yeah. And we haven't seen Lodestar, like you say, transform before. Oh, dear. Oh. Spoiler! I really like one thing. We don't talk about the covers much, but this book has some really good covers.
Oh, okay.
This I'm just scrolling through. Like, there's a gorgeous one. I think it's Nautica. I think, but like it's a bit psychedelic, and the art is just like absolutely stunning. But the art's not really wowing me. Like I said, there's some good panels in here. I also like the color choice for the wheeljack scenes.
Yeah.
How it's got this kind of higher contrast vibe to it. And I like the Cyclonus scene, but I do agree it kind of has nothing to do with the rest of the book. And also there's been a gap, so you may not necessarily go automatically, oh, Cyclonus would be here.
Yeah.
And I don't think we needed the scene of Astrotrain taking the Ascenticons away.
No, not when again, like...
That feels like it's left over from the last issue.
Yeah, it really does. Almost like they didn't have enough pages to have that. But maybe that page should have been saved for when their story again picks up, kind of like the Cyclonus stuff. So when his story picks up again, maybe you've saved these 3 pages for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd.
I don't know.
Odd choices. I don't get it.
Odd choices made here. So, yeah, I can't really add much else. I don't feel super negative about the book, but I don't feel excited.
No. So I feel a little less pumped about it than the last issue, though, but not massively so.
I'd say my feelings are about the same.
Okay, that's fine.
So in that case, Andy, why don't we go to our rating?
Yeah, I'd give it a 5. Like it's perfectly fine.
I'm going to stick with a 6 because there's a couple of bits that did keep my attention.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, that was Transformers, and now we move on to kind of the sleeper hit for me of the current era, Transformers Galaxies.
Right. Wow, what's happening?
Wrapping up its first story arc and moving on to its second.
Here's a quick question before you talk about it. Do you think this is more of a sleeper hit for us because it's not bogged down by all of the political nonsense and it's just focused on a more contained, focused story?
I think that helps, less because I'm not into political nonsense. No,
of course.
But definitely because of the effect it has on pacing. But I think both these issues, and I just like quick thing, I think the Constructicon story really went out of its way to develop the characters and make them compelling.
Yes.
And I think like both these issues have very new talent to the comics. So I think it's important to say, like, I think it's really good to see people completely fresh to writing these books doing so well. And like I don't knock, I think Brian is a very talented writer, but I have said before, I think that he's having trouble with the pacing of a long form ongoing. Yeah. Especially a long form ongoing, I have a horrible suspicion is going to be interrupted by toy stuff at some point.
I wouldn't be shocked. It'll have to be, right?
We'll see.
It always is.
I just don't want, like, and then the Decepticons arose, and now we have a time skip for millions of years.
And now we're on Earth.
How did we on Earth? The war came here.
Again.
Meet Verity Barlow of England.
Oh no.
On Coronation Street. So, issue 4 of Transformers Galaxies, wrapping up Constructicons Rising, as I burp.
Oh, Jesus!
Edit!
No, it's in forever.
So this is written by Tyler Belinsky, art by Livia Ramondelli, who is writing his own comic now, I just found out.
Oh, what is it?
It is a book about 4 robots who are horrible murderers.
So Transformers Galaxy issue 4. Oh, sorry, that's 5 robots. My bad.
Yeah, it's got a lot of swearing in it. I've only read a couple of pages, but I'm kind of curious. Letters by Jake Wood, edited by David Mariotti and Tom Waltz again. So, following on from what's going on before, the Constructicons are now looking over their colony world of Malax, or Mayalax. They're the place they've been living, and basically they've been energized up to some degree, and they're kind of hate everyone, and they've made a decision that after building up this whole little world, they're going to completely wreck it. None of them are really sure how this is going to go. The general tone is of uncertainty, but this is about them having a choice finally. Meanwhile, the Insecticons have decided the best way to fuel up the Constructicons is to murder and eat people in my favorite scenes of the book.
Well, they got to make the Energon for the Constructicons to have somehow, so
Yep.
this is how they do their stuff.
Yep, and these are absolutely my favorite pages of the Insecticons full-on horror murdering people. Not just murdering, horror murdering. Like, everything from pulling people into back alleys and, like, chewing on them. Like, the bit where Bombshell, like, Cerebro shells a guy, tells him to sit down, and then just, like, goes to town on his neck.
I kind of wish he didn't have a normal mouth, though, underneath the thing. I wish it was more insectoid or, like, tentacles or something, like, really weird, and that's why he has it, rather than, I've just got a mouth under here.
Like, or fangs or something.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
they fuel themselves up as much as they can. They produce Energon for the Constructicons, and the Constructicons get ready to do what they were told they should never do. And they are nervous, it has to be said, because the seventh personality that comes about when they combine, they don't know if they can control it. And ultimately, it's not really about controlling, it's about letting him go and trusting that because they are a part of him and he's a part of them, that it will all come right in the end. You know?
There's also the fear that they mentioned of being completely absorbed by him and then him never letting them emerge again, right?
Yeah. Which I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Insecticons show up with their Energon. Everyone fuels up. And yeah, they combine. The combiner rips a gigantic gun off a roof. Which is also like a very familiar looking gun. But I'm also looking at it and going, isn't this supposed to be a peaceful colony?
Oh, see, my idea, my first thought was, two thoughts. How does he use that gun? Because it doesn't have a trigger. And how is the gun supplied by energy or anything? Because he's pulled it off of the top. I mean, it's one of those things where you go, he's got how does he get the giant gun? It's a turret. Okay. But then you got to try and think of the logistics of how does this even work now, and it's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like,
actually, looking when he's holding it, he's just sort of holding onto some wires.
Yeah, and it's like, is he jerry rigging it like a car when you're like hot wiring a car? Is that how it works? It's weird.
And yeah, also we then get the naming of Devastator by the wordiest version of the character ever.
Yeah, and he's not screaming either.
No, this is like wordy, intelligent Devastator, who is
Still
completely
annoyed,
very annoyed, completely in control and completely, unconcerned with what he's doing to the people around him. He slaughters a very large number of people. He breaks the entire colony. He goes to a statue of Nominus Prime and takes it apart with his bare hands and blows it up and wipes the entire place out. And we see him covered in the bodies of his enemies, and just simply he reigns supreme. The Insecticons go quite to town and think they don't care really about the long-term goals of Shockwave and anything else. They've just got like the biggest feast they've had in ages. Devastator splits into the Constructicons, and everyone is kind of amazed by it. Bone Crusher thinks it's the best thing ever. And yeah, megacycles later, the Insecticons meet up with their sort of go-betweens, which are the Combaticons, or at least some of the Combaticons. And like, basically no one really trusts anyone, but hey, a trip home is a trip home. We then see Blastoff and Shockwave confirming that they don't really have a plan for the Constructicons, bar the fact that Megatron will probably get involved at some point. And the Constructicons are now sitting alone on an empty world, kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do with themselves. And they don't see, they seem happy after murdering basically an entire city full of people. And that's the end of the book. And this story arc. So Andy, thoughts?
Just on the book or on the thing overall?
Both, actually.
Okay, so for the thing overall, one issue I would have liked to have had is I would have liked to have seen a bit more of the peaceful Constructicons going and being more okay with the idea of killing them. It almost feels like it was not shown. We weren't shown the people on this planet distrusting or fearful of them. Like if they were treating the Constructicons with fear and loathing and a bit of hatred, again, it would have been a bit more. It would have made more sense, I suppose, why they would have been like, yeah, well, let's just kill everyone. because, there would have been a bit more, like, resentment towards these people. Or maybe there was, like, a bureaucrat on this planet who had more, who was holding out on the Constructicons, for instance, and he wasn't giving them the energon because I'm a bad bureaucrat, for instance, so it kind of pushes them over the edge. That kind of woo-woo. I would have liked a bit more of that, but still, overall, it's still enjoyable. It does really portray the Insecticons as very short-term goal little robot people. It's just like their main concern is where the next meal is coming from, and as long as they've got that, they're happy. Just give them a meal and they're happy. They don't really care. They're not looking for anything else, just sustainable food sources. Yeah. The action was quite nice, though it was just a lot of like Devastator kicking dudes and people exploding into robot bits. And I liked as well that Devastator kind of cast down the statue of Nominus, kind of spouting the reward kind of nonsense that Nominus gave the Constructicons as well. I thought that was quite good. Overall, though, it's nice to finally have a piece for the Constructicons, though it still feels like there would be more to flush out with them, but there's the constraint of how many issues you have, for instance. Yeah. What about you, Mikey?
No, I liked it. I think you pointed out some good ones about constraints, but I would have liked if we had the Constructicons, because the Constructicons kind of did slightly go from not to 60, but maybe 40 to 60 on being willing to murder everyone around them.
Yeah, they went a bit quick.
Yeah. And while I like the Devastator scenes a lot, I thought they were well done. I feel his personality wasn't actually that well highlighted, and he's the only member of the team I would say who isn't, because like what's coming across is he kind of just sounds like Scrapper.
Yeah, I could see that.
And one of the things, like, yes, we don't just want to portray him as a monster, but I really wish there'd been something about they've kept, like, I would like if Devastator had some resentment towards the other Constructicons.
Maybe that could be something that's picked up on, and maybe the idea was, this is obviously me writing for the writer at this point, but maybe it's like Devastator's focus is on trashing the city, and then maybe something down the line we could get.
Yeah. Because I do think it would be something. I've said this for years. I think someone needs to do the story about a combiner who doesn't want to uncombine.
Yeah,
and because what happens to combiners when they break apart? Like he's talking about being in the darkness. Did he literally just cease to exist?
Do we do that with Abominus then? Do you think, since he's still being hinted at and we don't know he's dead?
Yeah, I mean, also, I think one of the problems is like I guarantee Abominus is just going to be like raving Looney Tune.
Probably. There is the fear.
Devastator gives you room to play with.
Yeah.
So I'd like someone with a brain, basically.
This is a problem, I suppose you could say, with a lot of the previous characterizations of Decepticon combiners, because at least based off the G1 stuff, like a lot of them are just screamy, angry big boys.
Yeah.
Like the big exception is Predaking. He's the main one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add to what you said. I think the art works fairly well with the story. I will say I'm glad that it wasn't just Livio was the artist for Galaxies, for all time.
Yes, I think it's an idea to have, like, the cycling artists. That'll be good. So you have Livio for this entire story. It's not my art style, but it's better to keep it consistent.
Yeah. And moving on, like, we've got someone new, whoever that is. But yeah, I'm comfortable enough giving this book a very solid 8.
I was thinking 8 as well, to be honest. I was quite pleased with it.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, well done to Tyler. I think he made a really good first impression.
Agreed.
And like, considering you and I were both pretty concerned early on.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, well done there, and I would like to see him on more material.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no. I think it definitely helped that they didn't, or Tyler didn't need to worry about tying it in heavily to what's going on at the moment. It was a story off somewhere else, and the only connection is Shockwave going, Megatron will figure out what to do with them in the future. Basically going, here you go, Brian, I've put the toys back in the box, you can pick them up when you like. That's perfectly fine.
Not my problem anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
In that case, let's talk about Transformers Galaxies issue 5, The Return of the Milne.
Woo!
Yep, so this is the first of a 2-part arc called Wannabe.
It's only 2 parts, is it?
Yep, and I get the name. It's called Wannabe. Wanna be Andy. Bee.
It'd be better than Wanna Wasp. That wouldn't
He's
work.
a bee. Wanna bumble? Written by Kate Leet and Cohen Edenfield, who Kate has done some Cyberverse work. Cohen's done what? She's done, I think, TV and game writing.
Okay.
She had something to do with Homestuck, which is something I don't really understand.
I don't think I know that.
Homestuck was some kind of web comic, I think.
Oh, I definitely don't
But
know it then.
I feel there's a whole other thing about it.
Right.
That, like, it had a... I don't know. I've only ever, like, paid very, very loose attention to it. And also, they're an engaged couple, which I think is the first time we've ever had that for Transformers. They were going to write a backup story for the Valentine's issue, but they never did. Or it never got finalized. But art by some guy. Colors by Josh Perez. Oh, yes, art by Alex Milne. If we must acknowledge him. Alex Milne. Colors by Josh Perez, lettered by Jake Wood, edited by David and Tom once again. And we open up on the world of Probat. Probat, where 2 Cybertronians are making their way onto the planet.
Oh, no, I get it. Probat, because it's got all the bats on. Oh.
Yep.
Silly.
Yep. First up is, I would question hiring this person as an ambassador based entirely on their name.
I would say how they look as well, to be fair. Just their fingers.
Ambassador Detsaurus.
Yeah.
They're the name you can trust.
Maybe death on other planets doesn't have the same resonance as it does when it's said in English.
They were originally going to send Murder Lizard, but and joining him is highly important Autobot Cliffjumper.
Woo!
Who Detsaurus is very dismissive of. And Cliffjumper's also kind of curious as to why he's on this planet, and he doesn't really know why. And the Probats themselves seem very, very excited by Cliffjumper. Very excited. And eventually, like, the 2 of them go to a public gathering. It turns out that Probat is an Energon refinery planet, basically. And part of this is Detsaurus coming to pick up the latest shipment. And the foreman of the refinery, Nautilus, the uncut, the unragged or something. Basically, these bat people destroy their own wings, and except for, like, their leader. And he shows up, and we find out that they are hailing the return of their savior, Bumblebee. Cliffjumper is rather confused, but clearly Detsaurus was in on the joke, and it revealed that the Probats only see through echolocation, which means they basically see the outline, and they know he has a similar outline to Bumblebee. Cliffjumper is trying to kind of talk himself out of it, but apparently Bumblebee is basically God to these people because he did something, he elevated them at some point.
Yeah, which has to be explained in the second issue, because that is one issue I do have with this, that we've not even hinted at what that was.
Yeah, no, I'd like to hear more about this. And Detsaurus basically brought him because he was an easy, like, hey, you do this, I'm gonna go make sure I get the Energon, and also, well, I collect the Energon for Cybertron, but mostly I get the Energon. So Bumble Cliffjumper. Cliffjumper goes off as the Probats take him away. They say the Bumblebee uplifted their race, and they're just kind of ignoring him completely, like whatever he says. They just, ignore. Eventually he's taken to... We find out that he was a sanitation engineer, and everyone basically, for a very long time, people have been mistaking him for Bumblebee if they don't. Like, even Orion at one point, presumably before he got to know Bumblebee, mistakes Cliffjumper for him.
What if he did know Bumblebee and he was just being an asshole?
That is possible. Also, we get I think our first look at old Windblade in this.
No, we've seen Windblade before. Sure.
No, we haven't. No.
Huh.
And there's a good bit where Starscream, one side Stumblebee, and Cliffjumper's just like, it's Bumblebee! Oh, god damn it.
Fuck!
Anyway, Detsaurus continues to be like, yes, go be honored. And the probats take him in, and they show that they have an energy source that they can burn, and it's very, very fuel efficient. And they give a bit of the backstory of their race and the origin of this energy. The energy is guano.
It's poo.
It's crystallized space bat poo that after you burn it turns into energon.
Super refined energon.
Yeah, like basically the energon they have been like doling out all these years is poop energon.
Well, from this source at least, because we don't know how many refineries they have around the galaxy, but from this specific place, it's poo. It's refined poo. But hey, that wouldn't matter to Transformers, because organics are just disgusting regardless, whether it's poo or no poo.
But I would put money down those refineries are actually just toilets. Anyway,
well, no, because the refinery is different, isn't it? Because it's not the same refined energon that is the guano poo.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. But you're ruining the joke.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Why have you ruined the joke?
Because I'm here to ruin things.
Why are you ruining this for me? Deadsaurus is led into the refinery, and he's shown around and just like, oh yeah, lovely to have you. I'm afraid we're a little low, but don't worry, things have been bad. And when my staff hasn't been producing like they should, it's not helping my theory. No one's at fault here. Maybe we could just use a little help. And Deadsaurus like, you fucked up. Whereas the rest of it, we've done what we can. And Deadsaurus punches a wall, and it's just like, yeah, no. I'm hearing a lot of excuses, a lot of we's, not I's, and those are usually the last words I ever hear. We jump back to Cliffjumper, who is basically like, I need to show Deadsaurus what the hell is going on with the Energon. And then we get, Deadsaurus is not taking the lying well.
No.
He said they were storing it for some unknown disaster. I don't know if I necessarily believe them. But what follows is, I have to admit, a really cool set of lines and a really good scene. As this little thing is trying to fly away, and Deadsaurus backhands him out of the air, and blood spatters everywhere, and just like, failure to meet your quota is a disaster, organic. Wasting my time is a disaster. Lying to me, though, thinking me your equal, no, you're inferior, that's not a disaster. That's a catastrophe. As he transforms into his dragon mode, and it's like, gone is the kaiju. This is full-on dragon.
I'd say it has a chicken beak.
It's a chicken dragon, but it's still very much a dragon.
Yes.
And Deadsaurus blasts the fucker, for want of a better term. And Cliffjumper is really shocked. But then we find out, like, Deadsaurus is really pissed because just like for him that wasn't exactly a proper energy blast, and he's on such low rations that he's exhausted from it. Like, and Cliffjumper's trying to justify, it's like, did he attack you? And then he just, a really good scene of Deadsaurus just like breaking into just like absolute laughter. And he's just like, he was suicidally stupid, not stupidly suicidal. And he called him Clipjammer, which is just him being a dick. And Cliffjumper shows him the Energon crystal. Deadsaurus, analyzes it for a couple of seconds and eats it. Mm-hmm. And is like, that's the good stuff. And he basically says, right, I'm going to go burn this place to the ground, and then when we're done, you can eat the scraps. You do me a solid, I do you a solid. And Cliffjumper's like, no, they've done nothing wrong. And Deadsaurus like, you got one chance, I'm going to punch you really hard now. And it ends like, take my offer or die. And as the continued gag of him, cliffhanger he's calling him, which I think is a nice way to end it. It's a cliffhanger. And that's the end of the book.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Really good. Really engaging. A few problems with, I guess, again, it being two issues that we kind of have to go over we go through quite quickly, which was the fact that we don't know what Bumblebee did to help these people. With the fact that we don't know why the Bat Guy was storing Energon, was it just because in case of emergencies? Was it for their own needs? Were they trading with somebody else as well? Yeah. What do the Bat people do to get this Energon specifically? Because it's not the super refined Energon, obviously, as we mentioned before. But also, I don't think that Zorus is really thinking long-term here, is he?
No, I think he is thinking with his stomach.
Yeah, this is scorched earth, because if he destroys all the bats, there's no one to run this facility. What's he... Like, this isn't even just, like, you know, think of the, like, not killing everybody. I'm thinking, like, from what he should be thinking of. If I kill everybody here, there's no more Energon to get here. What do I do, and how do I explain this? And there's a lot less Energon to go around. This is just a bad call on Deathsaurus, apart from he's a big nasty boy.
You have made a poor choice.
Yeah. So there's a few little hiccups here and there. Like, I don't know what the logic is behind Deathsaurus doing this, but again, maybe that'll be explained in the next issue. But I found it compelling. Deathsaurus finally gets kind of an issue, because the last time we had it was Lost Light, and I didn't really ever feel he got...
They set him up as an interesting character and never did a lot with him.
Yeah, I was going to say, they never gave him his due. They just kind of, like you say, set him up and then went, eh. And it's, obviously, I don't need to talk about the arc, because it's just fucking good. It's Josh and Alex, so...
I mean, it's alright.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
There was only one page I wasn't a big fan of, and that's mainly because it was just blurb, and that was when they were describing where the bat poo came from, and I was just like, okay, let's... It all, like, it wasn't just, it was boring or boringly written. It's also the fact that Comixology guided view was really unhelpful, because it didn't zoom on each panel. So it was a bit of a strain for me to lean to the computer and be like, what the fuck does this say? So it was a bit of a fault of Comixology as well there, which isn't obviously IDW's fault, I don't think, at least. No. What about you, Mikey? Do you like this? Was it fun?
Yeah, it's alright. No, it's a really solid issue. I like the character work in this. I think Cliffjumper just comes across as so exasperated all the time.
Yeah, it's nice to see Cliffjumper... I guess just, differently.
Yeah, like this feels like a reinvention of the character. It's not Cliffjumper, I like my fighting. This is Cliffjumper, I just come on, dude.
I want to be me. I don't want to be thought of somebody else all the time. I'm not fucking Bumblebee.
Yeah. Especially like he's in a planet full of people just going like, we love you, Bumblebee.
Yeah. He's quite polite, because he just kind of goes along with it as well. He's like, I'm Bumblebee. Wow.
Yeah. I like the take on Deathsaurus. I think it's a bit more traditional Decepticon, but he just comes across as so arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, more so than I think any version of him. Like, Victory levels of arrogant. And
but
it's just
not
like...
kind of lame.
No, like, just racist. Horribly racist.
Mm-hmm.
And I do really like that exchange of, like, that I thought that was just really cool writing. Overall, I think the art is very good.
Yes.
Being honest. There's excellent use of lighting. I'm trying to figure out, genuinely, if Deathsaurus has been redesigned, or this is just the most we've seen of him, like, where he's a focal point. Because before we'd usually either... The first issue, he was drawn by Hayato Sakamoto.
Mm-hmm.
And the other issues we've seen, he's usually been less of a focal character. Like, there's very few frames of him, like, center stage.
Yeah, that's true.
And the dragon mode especially, I'm just trying to figure out if that's a redesign. I'm looking at some... It's just really hard to find good pictures of his dragon mode. There's a cover with Drift, and I cannot remember what issue that's in. But I think it's probably the same design with some modifications. Like, Alex, if you're listening, let us know about that. But I think it might be a case, like, it's basically the same design, but there's some tweaks. Like, I don't think the wings had that kind of internal detail before.
Right.
Because, like, what seems to have happened when he went dragon mode, it's like the wings split. Also, I think, he had hands on the last wings, I think. In the last design, he had little finger claws.
Not independent hands like he does here.
No. No, I think he had the independent hands as well, but I think he also had just, like, little finger claws as well.
Okay.
But no, I really liked this. I thought it was a good read. Andy, rating.
I'm torn between an 8 and a 9, to be honest. How are you feeling?
I'm comfortable with an 8.
I think I might push it to a 9 because it's the first comic I've read in a while that it feels like a while, especially in this batch, that really interested me on both a visual aspect and from a story aspect. So I think I'm going to throw 9, just because it is more reactionary than perhaps my logical kind of way that I usually go for it, but it just felt nicer to read this than most of the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and like seriously, I do want to know. I do think this has been redesigned, but I would like someone to go into that in depth, please. Just because because like just think we could have like we've got a kind of IDW Detsaurus toy out there. We could have a kind of IDW 2 Detsaurus out there.
The reason why I no there is because Mikey, did you see what one of the free previews they have in the back of the comic is?
No.
It's the IDW Bumblebee comic. Like, I was just quickly flicking through, saw that.
Why?
Oh no.
What? Why would...
Yeah.
No, I missed that. I missed that entirely.
Yeah, the one with the art by Chi.
Oh, dear. Also, there's a
bad
Kazama
story.
cover to this. Oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
Damn, that woman can draw. But, yeah. Really solid issue. Looking forward to part 2. But yeah, that is it for the main show, guys. Thank you very much for your time and appreciation.
Woo!
And if you'd like to hear the extended edition where we'll talk about Valentine's and other non-Transformers comics, sign up to the Patreon. Leave us some feedback. We through the usual means of email, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere else. You can tweet me over an Irish Paleo, and you tweet the Moonbase too. And yeah, Andy, what about you? What if someone wants to contact you if you want to shill something?
CCTFW on Twitter and YouTube as well, and then like you said, those places.
Yeah, and yeah, guys, we'll talk to you soon, and hang around if you'd like for the Patreon show, and if not, bye.
Welcome to Moonbase 2.